that, you see wage deflation and productivity in Britain going down every single year. In fact, the productivity drop has been alarming over the course of the last 10 years. And what that suggests is we've become the cheap labour economy of the European time zone, and that actually this is no net benefit overall to the UK economy at all, though I confess it's good for the big employers, it's good for the big landowners. Is it good for ordinary Britons and taxpayers and workers? No.
Well, on the productivity point, it's fair to say that, you know, across the Western world, productivity has been down since the recession, partly because companies have kept people employed.
Well, that's certainly true, but Britain's productivity drop is really very alarming. Very, very alarming, as is wage compression. And you know, it's funny because 5 or 10 years ago, I was on programmes like this saying that, you know, a mass increase in unskilled and semi-skilled migration would drive down wages. I was told what a dreadful person I was. How dare I scapegoat migrants, which I was never trying to do. Now Mark Carney, the Governor of the Bank of England, says the same thing. So there are more people being employed. There are more migrant labour, people coming into Britain and finding work of some kind. Is this actually helping Britain? I'm not sure the answer is yes.
What do you think of the measures announced by the Prime Minister, particularly clamping down on illegal working? Are they going to have any effect, do you think?
None. You know, it's very interesting. I drove through Calais this morning. I've never seen so many people attempting to break into lorries. You know, I even locked my car. I was so concerned by what was going on there. The truth of it is that most people who come to Britain illegally are paid in cash. They're not paid through the payroll. They haven't got national insurance numbers. So actually nothing the Prime Minister said today works.
Confiscate the money, or that money could be...
Well, how you confiscate cash without breaking down people's doors and becoming a sort of, you know, totalitarian state is beyond me. Look, what he's doing, he's putting up a smokescreen to cover the net migration figures that we've seen today that are now within a couple of thousand of its absolute peak during the Blair years, when they literally opened the door to the whole of the world. The fact is, under Cameron, controlling immigration has been a complete and abject failure.
What the government's also proposing is limiting skilled workers coming in from outside the EU, which could affect things like nurses for the National Health Service.
Yeah.
As I understand UKIP's point system, you'd actually be letting those people in.
Of course, absolutely. We don't want a system that says no to the engineer from India or the doctor from New Zealand.
Or the nurse.
Or the nurse, or whatever it may be, in favour of the unskilled migrant coming from Romania or Bulgaria. And I know, you know, people scream and shout when I dare talk about, you know, nationalities like this. What I'm saying is we now presume in favour of the European Union against the rest of the world, including the Commonwealth, with whom we have our own special relationship. And what we're saying is, if you have an Australian-style point system, not only would it give us skilled migration, and migration that we need, it will actually be more ethical as well.
But the reality is that across the world we're seeing big migrations, people coming in from South America into the United States and Canada, what's going on in Thailand and Indonesia at the moment. And in truth, you can't stop it, can you? Because when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, you really would have to have a police state to chuck people out. Or...
We have a unique primary position here. We're an island. We are an island. There are fewer than 100 potential entry points into this country as an island. We, above all the other countries in the Western world, have more ability to control our borders. We have surrendered that as members of the European Union. And I think, actually, Cameron's nightmare today is this. These figures are so bad, and particularly from Romania and Bulgaria and countries like that. These figures are so bad, there is no way that a referendum campaign will not be dominated by the issue of can we control our own borders or not.
I was going to ask you about that because, as you know, there are those, including some in your own party, who think that you talking about immigration is actually going to damage the case against Britain's continued membership of the European Union.
They generally tend to be people who went to Oxbridge, live in Westminster, are wealthy, and do not meet ordinary, working, decent British people. And the fact is that actually the effects of open-door migration on lifestyles, communities, cohesion of society have been massive over the course of the last 15 years. And I think should be, I mean, look, I'm not for one moment saying We shouldn't in the referendum talk about trade and freeing ourselves from the EU, getting back our democracy, all of those things, but actually having the ability to have an Australian-style point system or not, I think will be the primary issue in this referendum.